Let's look back at this story we broke a couple of days ago, 22 data leak that endangered 100,000 Afghans who supported UK forces. This exposed them to Taliban threats. Clearly a very bad look. The MoD, though, now faces a £1 billion compensation bill as 900 Afghans sue, while a super-injunction, of course, that concealed the scandal is also up for question as well. Critics demand transparency and accountability, calling this a massive betrayal of public trust. Let's speak to the Conservative MP for Spelthorne and former colonel in the British Army who commanded the Scots Guards in Afghanistan back in 2010, and that is called Lincoln Jopp. Lincoln, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi, and how are you doing?
Very good. Nice to have you with us. I mean, just give us your overview of what happened, because bearing in mind Afghanistan is an area you know well. You know how it works, and knowing how a country works and functions, of course, on the battlefield is crucial. So you're aware of the delicacies and where the kind of mines are buried, both literally and metaphorically. What was your surprise, having said all of that, against the backdrop of this always tricky terrain, and let's face it, no one solved Afghanistan for decades fully. What did you make of this revelation that we received a couple of days ago?
Well, my first thoughts immediately went to Naz and Mukhtar, who were my interpreters for 6 months at the high water mark of violence in the summer of 2010. And they were both, Naz was my primary interpreter, and you know, they both put themselves in great peril. And there was one particular incident where one of them was interpreting for me, and he said, he sort of said in English what the colonel of the police had said, and he said under his breath, "And you should know that he's lying to you."
Wow.
And you know, for him to do that put him at great peril.
Of course.
And so will always be forever grateful to them, but also grateful to the MoD, because they both and their families both came out. Always be grateful to the two communities in Britain who welcomed them and gave them safe harbour, and welcomed them into their community. So that was my initial response. As to the sort of wider question, Ian, it's a big deal. I mean, you're going to be making movies out of this. It's a big thing, and I'm a member of the Defence Select Committee, and we've said that we will be running an investigation on it. And it's very important that we examine all of everything that's happened. In particular, I'm quite interested in the period of time when service personnel and officials knew about this. It's like a long time before they alerted ministers. I think it's, I don't misquote me, but I think it's about 10 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's all very well for everyone to be running around saying no, you know, sort of parliamentary accountability. But there was a whole 10 or 12 months where the machine, as it were, didn't let politicians know. And so there was no opportunity for accountability, even if there hadn't been the injunction, which was subsequently turned by the judge.
Yeah. And what do you make of this heady figure that is being quoted of £1 billion in compensation? And there is a sense, I suppose, that without having all the information, I mean, that there are so many numbers involved in this in terms of people, Lincoln, that some are understandably questioning, you know, are these all people that were helping and assisting in the way you brilliantly described at the beginning, you know, very crucial people that assisted the British military and others, like interpreters, and there were some, you know, even some local medics and people who could dissect sort of cultural issues, navigate terrain, etc. Even allowing for all of that, 100,000 seems a big number, and if we've got, you know, many suing at the moment, there is not an unreasonable question as to whether, you know, this would be what you might call a bona fide lawsuit or something fishy going on.
And I'm sorry, I haven't got my stats in front of me. I think under both schemes, about 30,000 Afghans have been resettled with their families here. There are 22,000 who are still pending and being processed. I spoke to the Minister for the Armed Forces yesterday, and his best estimate at the moment is that 95 50% of those will be ineligible. And so the real figures that we're talking about are probably in the realms of, we've got about 1,900 under this sort of secret scheme, or was secret.
Yeah.
And so we're probably talking about the sort of around the 31,000, 32,000. So the vast majority have been integrated already, and there's just like a few thousand to go.
What do you say then about domestic concerns about immigration? And some are concerned that, you know, notwithstanding everything you've just said about those that have done amazing jobs, put their own lives on the line, assist in the military, and then, of course, you know, we can point the finger at Biden or whoever, but then we all legged it from Afghanistan, leaving some people in the lurch. Even understanding all of that, there is naturally, and you know, in Lincoln, you're certainly not immune from the immigration debate over there in your constituency. What do you say to those people? They say, well, hang on a second, this is a lot of people, a lot of assimilation needed on this, coming from a culture that is very much at odds with ours.
It's a very understandable mistake to make, but I'm not in Lincoln, I am Lincoln.
So I do apologise. You're in Spelthorne, yes.
And my constituency is
the classic.
But don't worry.
It's like when I get called Colin rather than Ian. But you know, it's easily done. But either way, I wouldn't expect you to speak on behalf of Lincoln either, for that matter. But you understand all the imperatives around immigration, of course.
Yeah, of course I do. And there are three elements to this. There is the people from Afghanistan that we have accepted gratefully into our communities because they helped us, and it's worth pointing out that if we ever wish to go into another country again, that is being paid forward because we need to have the ability to go and do that and generate consent. If you don't look after people on your way out, and I agree with you completely, the precipitous way in which we left was shocking, and but let's not go down that route now. So you need to do that in order to be able to generate the foundation on which you can do these things again. Then you've got legal migration, and then you've got illegal migration. My view on illegal migration is that we should do a deal with the French whereby you simply don't allow a single boat to land in this country, and you send them back to Songat. You know, after 2 weeks of the road to Songat being a road to nowhere, that whole industry would end. And apparently we were quite close. I spoke to Chris, our Shadow Home Secretary, about this, and apparently we were quite close in 2020. And the Interior Minister in France, I think swapped out. They had a reshuffle, and that was a deep disappointment to me because that to me is the answer. It's not this one in, one out nonsense. It's turn the boats around, because as soon as someone gets here, then it's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, the one in, the one out is just sort of someone's idea of a bad joke, isn't it? Goodness me.
I'm afraid it is. Yeah. And so I would reset that whole debate. And on legal migration, I think that we have to be much more ruthless in terms of the way in which we approach that, and set targets and bring the numbers down.
Well, listen, Lincoln, it's great to have you on, sir. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Lincoln Jopp, Conservative MP for Spelthorne, also former colonel in the British Army, and he certainly commanded over there with distinction. He was commander of the Scots Guards in Afghanistan in 2010, so he knows the terrain well. But he did talk there about how valuable those people who assisted the British military are. The question is how many, and of course if you are on a hit list, it's not just you that comes over, it is your family as well. You'd all be on the hit list by definition of how these Taliban kids seem to roll. It's not pleasant. We understand it. But the point he made there, and I've heard this said quite a few times over the last 24 hours, is that most people who are going to be resettled have already been here and have been for quite a long time. Now the numbers left are, maybe 6,000. Is that relevant to this story coming out that it's almost completed anyway, by which time anyone who's got a problem with it will be wasting their time because the situation has already been settled.